Welcome, welcome back to the Norwegian Woods once again. I'm your host, Ulf Hawkins Gray from whitewolfalchemy.com, and I'm live on two platforms at once. Just try to see, so I'm on YouTube over there, and I'm on Facebook over there, you know, and you know, I've been talking about this subject for, you know, far over a decade. And I've been experiencing activations in relation to the twin flame template, to call it that, the sacred union template, since 2013. And with that, you know, comes perks, comes upgrades, and heightened states of consciousness and evolution of consciousness, but also, a lot of challenges, a lot of um, alchemy, a lot of, underworld stuff. We go into the underworld, go into the dark night of the soul. And what happens for me is I seem to be activating my soul connections to somewhat of a Persephone blueprint, where they seem to be dragged kicking and screaming into the underworld of their psyche and experience the dark night of the soul as a result of um, being activated with me. Now I see that happen for a lot of soul to soul connections. It is a lot of being dragged, kicking and screaming. It is a lot of friction and suffering in relation to that friction, and you know wanting something to be something that it isn't, which I see a lot of in life, for a lot of us, a lot of people, are in resistance to acknowledging and accepting the fact that something is the way that it is. And in my soul connection now, we experience the tower moment. Her entire life was just swiped off the board, and um, a complete reset for her on all levels in order to be with me, in order to, you know, go all into this shared unified field and into this connection. Um, Everything was just swiped clean, and when you've spent so much time building um, something of value, when you're used to um, having 3 or 4 jobs and being able to deposit $10,000 in one go from a gig, or that kind of deal, and then having to start um, from scratch again. I can completely understand And I've seen that happen for so many in these connections. The tower moment happens, and they have to start from scratch. For some, that might mean the career. For some, that might mean, moving across the world in order to be physical in this soul to soul connection. For some, it might mean, you know, um, a complete upheaval of everything that was familiar and safe. And, maybe they have to start a different career, a different job. Maybe they have to learn a new language. Um, all of these things that come with an international soul to soul connection. And a lot of you will experience that. A lot of you will experience these type of challenges, immigration, and everything that comes with an international soul to soul connection. Because your twin flame probably is not going to be someone up the road for you. They're going to be, in a different country or maybe even a different continent, and you're going to have to be okay with that because the connection does what the connection does. It does not ask you if you want, to move to, India, or whether you want to move to Australia and you've been living your whole life in Canada or America or, you know, um, Europe, and all of a sudden you have to uh, just pull everything up by the roots and plant your life on a different continent. So that's that's something a lot of us and a lot of you have to do. Um, so it's like a question of how much do you want this? How much do you want a soul to soul connection? How much are you willing to sacrifice in order to be with the one that you're connected to? And she was willing to sacrifice everything, and I'm willing to sacrifice everything in order to do this gig with her, whatever that means, you know? And so for me, that has been all about upgrading, all about, leveling up and taking it to the next level personally, so that we can level up together, so we can, manifest good stuff, a good life. So yeah, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to make huge sacrifices, even. Um, you have to be willing to not be too attached to where you're going to live, and you are global citizens in that regard. You are um, emissaries of this template of love and relationships that is entirely new, um, which demands so much more than just white picket fence and mortgage and all that stuff. It demands spiritual accountability on a whole other level. Accountability of mind, body, and spirit. You're you're going to have to um, man up and you know go above and beyond on on your mental programming the way that you think, the way that you manifest, the way that you create with your thoughts. You have to go above and beyond with your physicality and your health in order to be able to sustain all that energy. Um, and I know from experience because I fell a little back on my physicality when she got pregnant the first time around, and I've been, fighting to get back ever since. And now I'm at the gym 5 days a week in order to um, get back to that level that is necessary for me to be able to, keep up with everything and to be able to anchor in all this energy and keep up with light body, you know, because the soul to soul connection is a Merkaba for two. It's a joint unified field, shared unified field, entailing, all that goes with that is, the vitality, um, the energy that goes into the connection comes from both parties and then is joined. So if I was to completely give up on my physicality and my health, holistically speaking, that would have its effects on her as well due to this shared unified field. So I have responsibility to be accountable for our shared unified field, and so does she, with her thinking, with her uh, energy, with her physicality, mind, body, and spirit. It's a whole other ball game than a relationship. In a relationship, you can come together and allow yourselves to, be in decay and not affect the other one too much. We become like the people we surround ourselves with for sure, but it's not going to affect you in the same way when you have your separate unified fields, when you have your separate energy fields. That's not going to affect you in the same way it does when your energy field is shared. So whatever energy I put into our shared unified field is going to affect her and vice versa. It's a tremendous task, actually, and I don't see a lot of people talk about that in the twin flame community or the spiritual community at large. These sacred union connections, they are a whole other ball game. Once you're connected on that level, no, you can't go about your old ways. You can't keep up with your old bullshit. You're not going to be able to stay together to sustain it. And if you are, you're both going to suffer as a result of it. You're both going to struggle big time. You're going to have one wonky ass Merkaba or two, for starters, and then that's going to trickle down into the physical body. That's going to trickle down into your health and well-being for the both of you. So yeah, I'm seeing more and more now the importance of what I always talked about, what I've always known, and embodying that on your own is easy peasy. Embodying that on your two, that's the challenge. You know, that's the mastery that's involved. And we're meant to become masters, you know, through this connection. It is there to elevate you. It is there to bring you to heightened states of consciousness. The same way that when you met and you were activated, You experienced the exalted state of consciousness, like you were high on kundalini, you were absolutely out of your mind, beautifully, and deeply divinely connected, and then connected to one another. And then you have to make your way back up there, and that's where the mastery comes in. And that's what makes these connections rare, when they are, two, when there are two doing it together. How many of those connections from the OGs are we still seeing doing it? How many of them got thrown a real bad freaking curveball, you know? Um, a real challenge of existence. And some of them aren't here anymore. A few of them got real sick. Some of them are still here and still going at it, and this is part of it. This is part of it. We can't go on in the same way we did when we were in a relationship, when we were regular people. You're activated now. You have to go about things as someone who's activated and sharing a unified field, which means you are spiritually accountable for mind, body, and spirit of what goes into that shared unified field. So you can't really be boozing it up. You can't really do a shit ton of plant medicines without, causing harm to the other. You can't be, you know, eating like crap. You can't. You can't let yourself decay. You can't let yourself, you can't let yourself go. It's as simple as that. You have to stay on top. All right, I need to be in good shape. I need to really, 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 really be mentally fit, be physically fit, and be energetically aligned and fit and connected, and consciously connect to higher self and to the divine energy, at all times, every day. That's the responsibility of this gift that we were all given. You know, this is the level of accountability that's demanded for us in order to keep this connection, in order for us to stay divinely connected and keep being activated, keep getting these activations and rising and climbing in vibration and frequency, and staying, vital doing it. That's an important part of the puzzle that just seems to be not spoken about, because they haven't received that information, or it's so hard to embody it that they're not going to speak about it until it's fully embodied. But I've been sharing information as it comes to me. It's not always been embodied, but it has been received, and I understood the task. But it's so freaking hard to do the task, given that I stumble and fall along the way trying to embody that divine information that I was given. But you'd have to be a freaking saint living in a freaking cave all by yourself, not connected to nobody and no matrix responsibilities, in order to do it fully, in order to fully do it. You'd have to be a freaking monk living in a freaking cave, meditating all day long, and not touching a rock, in order to not trip on your level of accountability needed in order to sustain the 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 ascent the ascension of this union, of this connection that you're experiencing, because you're not meant to stay there. That's a conscious relationship, and you're not meant to go there, like, down. That's a regular relationship, a toxic, relationship. If it's going down, no, no, you're supposed to elevate one another. You're supposed to be rising and ascending. That's the nature of this connection. So you're supposed to increase your health. You're supposed to be increasing your well-being. You're supposed to be increasing and expanding and growing and evolving. You're not supposed to be decaying and, you know, it's not supposed to dwindle. It's not supposed to circle the fringes and circle the drain. And it's not supposed to stay in a status quo either. It's supposed to go up. You're supposed to start to look younger, right? You're not supposed to look 60 when you're 50. You're supposed to look 35 or 40 when you're 60. You're supposed to look, 30, 35 when you're 40, 45. That type of deal. That's how it's supposed to show. That's the fruit of the labor of this connection. You're supposed to, you know, increase the vitality. You're supposed to increase it. You're supposed to ascend, you know, together. That's why Mel called it ascension partners at one point. You're supposed to add more light into that shared unified field. You're supposed to pack on the light, not the weight. You know, you're supposed to pack on the skills, the skill sets. You're supposed to pack on the presence. You're supposed to pack on the awareness. These are the things. And I wish more people were talking about that and sharing about that. You know, who cares about these old paradigm things? You know, that's not what it's supposed to. And it doesn't need to be so freaking new agey and biblical to, you know, to be interesting. Just needs to be real. It just needs to be, what's actually going on in these connections. What's actually going on, you know? And we're here fighting for lucidity, all of us, you know? And we think we're lucid because we're so spiritual, and into all these spiritual topics. And we have so much spiritual information and spiritual wisdom and knowledge And we know all these names of all these masters and things and read the books and all of that stuff, but that's not it. That's not it. That's not it at all. It's not going to do anything for you. You're just going to be like a wandering spiritual library who can recite and repeat like a new age parrot, but that's not it. That's not it at all. It's so much more simpler than that. It's so much more simpler than that. Like in the awareness of our patterns, the awareness of what we're clearing and healing in our ancestral lineage, and um, the information about the shared unified field, you know, that's more important than all of these other things that we're being made to believe in the New Age community is important for our spiritual expansion, spiritual evolution, and it's so much simpler than that. It's absolutely it's so much more simple. So when we get down to it, why are these connections experiencing such devastating challenges? And it boils down to that spiritual accountability. That's where it's all at. The mind, body, and spirit. Are you accountable for those things? You know? And can we get out? Can we get out? Can we get out of the matrix? Can we get out of worrying about taxes, worrying about rent, worrying about food, worrying about all the toxin overloads in the food and the air and the water and all that stuff? You know, can we get to a place where, okay, I know that I'm the freaking avatar, and um and I'm going to manifest all the things that I need in order for me to have clean air, clean water, clean food, and the lucid awareness needed for me to think good thoughts, not be fearful, not be stressed, trust in my own creative capacity, take good care of my physicality, take good care of my energy, and surround myself with good people, surround myself with other co-creators and people living from heart who wants to be good to other people. You know, it's as simple as that. And we make it so much harder. We make it so much harder. And the spiritual community and the new age belief systems are not helping. They're just complicating everything so much that you need to do this for your chakras, and you need to do this for your light body, and you need to do this and that, and you need to pray to this ascended master, and need to communicate with this archangel and those ETs, and read this book and that book and all that stuff. I can feel myself getting, activated just talking about it. It's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. It's not necessary at all. It's so not needed. So not needed. You'd be better off reading a book on the endocrine system and understanding your endocrine system and how to feed it and balance it physically, you'll benefit 10 times more from that than you ever will reading a spiritual encyclopedia about the Ascended Masters or the Galactic Wars or, you know, the Andromedan people or the Pleiadians or whatever. All of that is just noise compared to what you need to do here and now with the physical, you know, with your lucid awareness. And part of the reason that a lot in the spiritual community don't have lucid awareness and understand is because they have programmed their minds with all these new age belief systems that give you inflammation in the mental body. Thinking about things that just doesn't matter, that is just not useful to you at all. And, you know, it's closer to making you mentally ill than spiritually aligned in any capacity. Uh, you know, but people want the fluff. People want the fluff. People want to ride the dragon and the unicorn and all that stuff in the astral realm long before they ever want to heal their own toxicities and be accountable for their mind, body, and spirit. You know, they would rather have a spiritual claim, soul contract written in blood and tears rather than do the work necessary in order to magnetize, attract, align with a soul to soul connection, you know? So, yeah. The evolution is simple. It's the mind, body, and spirit, and being accountable for those three. And if we keep it that simple, you're probably going to be in the ascension process with your ascension partner in good spirit, in good health, and manifesting good stuff. All right. So I experimented a little today with going live on two platforms at once just to, you know, see how that works. And yeah, reaching different audiences, but getting it to both channels. So I'm very, very pleased with myself. But yeah, keep it simple. A lot of the twin flame teachers out there are making it hard for you, and talking all kinds of new age fluff. But if if you want to take good care of yourself on this path and you want to be in a good place, then being spiritually accountable for your mind, your body, and your spirit, your energy. That's it. It's that simple. Once you bring that into the shared unified field and you're both being spiritually accountable for mind, body, and spirit, well, then you're starting to create gold out of the alchemical lumps of coal in your. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you.